Studio in Anchorage. My friend Scott, business partner, is behind me. We're in a bit of a transitional period. We're getting another office upstairs, our former storage area, redone to move Scott into. He's been in my office for a bit. I haven't done a live for a while. I was in Juneau, and I tried to do the lives in Juneau. I brought the stuff down. I was gonna do. I just never got around to it, and then I bring it back to Anchorage, and I don't get things set up in time. Takes a while to get them back. Everything's set up. It's kind of a little bit of a setup we have here. So it's everything set back up. I'm going to just leave everything here in Anchorage and not take it back to Juneau. I'm just going to have this is my studio. I have the podcast set up in Juneau. But as far as the lives, I'm back. And I want to talk about the absolute kind of lunacy that happened last night at the Anchorage Assembly. I'm going to show some of the video. I was doing some tweets last night. It was pretty wild. I mean, the people who basically a fringe group of very loud lunatics showed up to oppose a proposed ordinance by Keith McCormick, Jared Gerker, and Scott Myers to kind of increase the penalties on homelessness and vagrancy in Anchorage, which is a big problem. My personal view, it's a kind of waste of time because there already is a lot of these laws on the books, and the LaFrance administration, formerly the Bronson administration, he tried a little bit, but they just don't enforce the anti-camping, fires, cooking, lewd behavior, indecent, exposure, people showing, pissing, defecating, shitting, walking around naked. None of this stuff really gets enforced. I mean, when they abated Davis Park last week, a bunch of crazies basically torched it and said they were going to torch it if they dared, infringe on their private property rights when they're camping on public areas. Even last night, some people said, if you keep abating us, we're going to keep burning it, which is like nuts. I mean, if you or I or any law-abiding people said that, even threaten that, we probably have an issue, let alone doing it. So there was this meeting last night, and a bunch of kind of very loud minority, some of these like Party of Socialism and Liberation, Anchorage, absolute lunatics. These are people who praised October 7th when Hamas invaded in Israel and killed a bunch of innocent people. I mean, these people are nuts. They were there, a bunch of them, other people. The silent majority, the law-abiding, tax-paying, working people with families didn't bother to come to the meeting because they know it's a waste of time. Yet you had to wait. The meeting started at 5 or 5:30. They didn't even get to this ordinance until 9. They were talking about Heritage Land Bank deal over by the old Native Hospital on 3rd Avenue, making an RV park. They spent half an hour on an ordinance about bees, like bees, like beehives and cultivating bee. I didn't even know that was a thing. So there was a bunch of time spent on other stuff, which part of me understands because you have to get to the regular business. They got to this thing at 9. There's hundreds of people that were there to testify. You could tell they were. I mean, just by looking at them, you could tell they were mostly people that were against it. They just want. I'm for housing. I think we should do more for housing. If you want housing, build the Connect Arm Bridge. They'll build thousands, maybe 10,000 units of housing over there in Port McKenzie and Matsuboro, where half the houses every year in the state get built. That'll open up all kinds of houses in Anchorage. People will move over there. But I'm all for housing. But you cannot house drug addicts and alcoholics and mentally ill people and say, good, you're good to go. It doesn't work that way. It has to be a carrot and stick. It has to be, a crackdown on the homelessness and vagrancy, while also offering, mental health treatment, addiction treatment, shelter. These are things we should probably spend more money on. I'm fine with that. But you can't just do the carrot and no stick. And a lot of people want a lot of carrots, or some carrots. They basically want the government. Some of these lunatics want the government to build housing and be in charge of, that doesn't work out. We know that. The government should get out of the way and make zoning and the building codes easier and more. Like in the Valley. The Valley, a lot of houses get built half the houses every year get built in the Matsu Valley. So I want to talk about that. If you're watching, and let me know if hopefully, Scott, how do I sound? But are you watching? Are we good? Wow, Scott. Scott was supposed to pull it up and give me a feed.
I'm working back here. Come on, Jeff.
I just hope everything. I mean, we did a test earlier. I think we're good. This again, when Jeff Lanfield here, last Landman back doing the lives. We're going to talk about some of the crazy stuff that happened yesterday at the Anchorage Assembly meeting last night. Let me just because Scott's not available. He's very busy back there.
Yes, you're on.
Sounds good. Looks good. How do I look, baby? How do I look? So I'm going to just kind of get into it over here. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go over here. Pull this baby up. I have it queued up here. So this is, again, very, very crowded. It was kind of had mask mandate energy from 3 or 4 years ago, and Bronson and all the mask mandate people showed up, which was wild, which we were covering. this was that energy, but a different crowd. It was mostly the kind of like progressive, lefty, bleeding heart people who just, want to do everything we can for these people that are destroying our city and not do anything for the people who have. A few people did testify that were, some people showed up and said, this is horrible. Like, people are taking over our neighborhoods. They're defecating, they're urinating, they're exposing themselves. They are creating a lot of trash in the parks, on the trails, in the creeks, and it's unacceptable. So some of those people did show up, but they were far outnumbered by the loud kind of, it seemed like younger people with no jobs or kids or families that could just, show up and spend all night at the assembly meeting. Just get an idea. This will show you.
Is now open. Welcome. Please state your name.
This was the people last night that were there. So this was Amber Brophy. She was one of the first testifiers. She kind of talked about just, she was one of the people saying she's suffering, the city suffering.
My name is Amber
But I want to
Brophy.
go back to some of the other ones that were.
And also having to worry about maybe being arrested for it. It's just really inhumane. And I really urge all of you to hear my words and to vote no on this ordinance.
See, a lot of that. We need housing. I want to find there's a couple here. My favorite one was the guy who showed up.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name.
Look at
What
this.
town you're from. You'll
Look at
have
this.
3 minutes.
Look at this beauty. He's wearing the earrings.
Hello, my name is Jacob, and I live in District 1, and I do not represent anyone but myself, and I oppose this ordinance. It feels gross to say, but I know it's important. I am a homeowner, and I'm paying my taxes this month. I'm not really sure what to say on this
At least
ordinance,
he's paying his
given the
taxes.
multiple
I mean, he gets a little
aspersions
more,
and what seems to be a large
credit.
amount of unanswered, complex, and very expensive questions. I think watching this meeting and the reaction to it and hearing the rumbles of frustration as we addressed other business remind me of something that I think people often forget about local government. It happens every day. It is often slow and incremental.
Guys are all boring. Let's keep
I think
going
this
here.
ordinance will effectively address
this is-
homelessness or connect people to substance misuse treatment
This might be the lady who said that white women have weaponized or the notion of anger. I don't know, something about white women and anger. This might be her.
programs or behavioral health services as advertised. I work with people who test positive for sexually transmitted infections, aka STIs, and not infrequently, I have patients who are in Department of Corrections custody, aka DOC. Generally, in my experience, it takes about a couple days to be seen by DOC Medical, and then if someone wants to be tested for a sexually transmitted infection, it takes about a week to get those results back.
Not solutions.
Keep going to where it gets pretty.
Vincent and Lois. That was recognized.
We should respect the speaker and their ability to speak, and let's get through the list so that everyone can get heard.
There was kind of raucous cheering at some points for the people that were basically who want to see our city burn and be plagued by this homelessness and vagrancy. But at one point, Chris Constant had to called like a 5-minute or 10-minute break to tell them telling them to stop doing that. This isn't just a problem with these lefty people. I mean, what happened during the mask mandate stuff? The right wing people were kind of cheering and causing a raucous and distraction. It's not really conducive to a public meeting, but I think this might have been the place
as
where
efficiently as possible. Welcome. Please state your name, what part of town you're from. You'll have 3
We're
minutes.
gonna find the guy who looks like Edward Scissorhands. There's
Yeah.
a guy that came up. He looked just like
McCormick
Edward
has said on
Scissorhands.
camera in recent videos he shares that
If you're-
Anchorage is an abusive
If you're wearing a mask, I guarantee you're against the ordinance.
relationship with homelessness. And like too many victims, we continue to say maybe things will change, quote unquote. First, this blatantly demeans victims of domestic violence of all genders by comparing the inconvenience of seeing homeless people in public places to the abuse and lifelong trauma someone who has been a domestic violence survivor experiences. Second, this compares homeless people to domestic violence abusers, and this is unethical and unbecoming of Anchorage Assembly members. In another video on camera on his Facebook, McCormick says, "We are all accomplices to murder and sex trafficking by allowing homeless camps in Anchorage to exist."
See, they really went after Keith McCormick, who's one of the main sponsors of this ordinance, who's a new assembly member. He just won in April, and I was kind of disappointed he didn't push back at all on these people. They were attacking him because he's done some videos and he's gone out there, and I mean, this all kind of started a month ago or whatever when they came out and they said they might be using this easement or this area by Target to let people park their cars overnight. And the people in South Anchorage kind of flipped out. And this kind of all started there. And then he did this ordinance. But, I mean, instead of pushing back and, arguing with these people about all kinds of things you could have responded to that they were saying, he just kind of took it. But they were really, some of the people really went after him. It was kind of, I'm surprised he didn't speak up for himself.
This implies that there is murder and sex trafficking ongoing in all Anchorage homeless camps. McCormick suggests all homeless people.
I've spent a lot of time in the homeless camps. And believe me, they are horribly wrought with crime. There's definitely prostitution. There's definitely abuse. There's drug, alcohol abuse. There's people. Some of the people there, the women especially, are in very vulnerable situations. And people take advantage of them. So when you allow people to just do whatever they want and live in these camps and be outside, you not just hurt the public who has to deal with this. You hurt those people that are having to live in that, allowing people to live in that situation and being taken advantage of by some shitty people that kind of prey on that. So it's bad for everybody, not just the people that are having to deal with it in the public, but the people that are living there and allowed to stay there.
Are murderers and sex traffickers, or at the very least accomplices. McCormick needs to stop comparing his inconvenience of seeing homeless people to the pain and physical suffering homeless people experience every day.
It's like some of these, most of the people that were testifying last night against it, I think they talk about housing, which I said, housing's great. We need more housing, but you can't house drug addicts and alcoholics and mentally ill people and say, good luck. But it's like a lot of these people, I think they almost want to see what's happening they want people to just do whatever they want. They like it, or they think it's good, or they think it's just bad to police it, which is crazy. Who wants to live? Last summer, there was right outside my window here, there was 2 guys shooting up heroin in the middle of the day. We've had theft, we've had vandalism. People last night driving back down from the downtown. I was coming back from the valley. 2 people crossed C Street in the middle of traffic. Then I saw 30 seconds later 2 people on bikes going down C Street the wrong way in the middle of the road. And then I saw another guy over on 36 walk into the road into traffic. This was in a 2 or 3 minute period in Anchorage. Who wants that? I don't want to see anybody get killed in traffic. I don't care who you are. Nobody should be having to get hit by cars or the people that are hitting them, It's horrible for everybody. And the fact that we allow this have allowed this for so long, for a decade, there's no excuse for it. And these people that want it or are okay with it they're as bad as the people that are allowing it.
On camera, McCormick also says, Anchorage has gotten so bad that mom can't take her kids to the park without fear of being accosted.
Absolutely. That's true.
Newsflash,
That's
Keith.
true.
There are homeless moms and homeless kids in Anchorage and all of Alaska, in plain view in homeless camps.
Yeah, no,
One of the moms
there's very few. I've been in a lot of these. Most of the kids, people in these camps are not kids. There are people that are homeless, that are struggling, that don't have a place to stay, that are on somebody's couch, that are in a shelter, and those people are the ones who probably need help more than the people in the camps. Are not kids. Very few. They're drug addicts. They're mentally ill people. They're alcoholics. They're people that just don't want to follow the rules of society. That's who are in these camps. It's not kids and moms. This is just a lot of the bleeding heart stuff. They try to. Maybe I'm so desensitized to it because I've spent so much time in these camps over the years, watching what happens there and seeing. It's something you go out there. It's a lot of the same people that you see move around, and it's kind of most problem people that are. There's hundreds of them, and they just as long as they can do whatever they want, they're going to do it.
A great friend of mine, and has since found housing with her new baby and her boyfriend. And they're here tonight, so make sure you say hi to the baby, Keith. But last year, she had to carry that baby in 3 different homeless camps the city abated. The police did not care. Former Mayor Dave Bronson's former housing...
This guy.
Sleeping in my car down by the port, sleeping in my car in neighborhoods, and I look just like you guys. And I ask you, go spend the night on the street. Go spend the night on the street. Go be in a situation where you don't have a choice. And then come talk to me about worrying on top of all of the other things that I had to worry about.
See, I don't know this woman's name, but I've seen her since 2019. We did our first video. I've seen her at meetings. I've seen her show up. So, she obviously has the means to show up to these meetings. And if somebody does need help, I think we should help them. And if they aren't, if they want to follow the rules, if they want to get better, if they want to be in a shelter, if they want help, if they want a job, if they want some assistance, I'm all for those things, for the people who want the help. But when these people conflate, it's not about the people who want the help. It's about the people who don't want the help, who don't want shelter, who don't want to get clean, who just want to live on the streets and do whatever they want. Those are the problem. That's the big, and believe me, it's a majority of the people who you see visibly on the streets in the camps. I've been out there. I've seen it. I've talked to these people. It's not the majority of people that are tough on their luck, lost their job. It's not that. I want to help all the people who want help. We should as a society do that. And I think we should spend more money on mental health treatment and addiction and housing and shelter and get the government out of the way to do housing. But don't conflate these stories of these people who say, oh my God, it's just these poor people out there, they can't get it's most of those people are not on the ones in the camps living on the street.
That I have to worry about, because I have only now, after 2 years, gotten 3 months worth of housing support from NeighborWorks. Thank you, NeighborWorks. Hopefully it comes through.
Director at Covenant House, Alaska, and I'm here representing Covenant Alaska's views on
It
this
was just one
ordinance
after
tonight.
the other. It was just a barrage.
I'm here to share the impact of AO.
Like I said, the people that are dealing with this stuff, who have jobs and families, and who are paying taxes or renting, struggling to get by or just living their life, they didn't come to this thing because they know it's a waste of time. It's not gonna, nothing's gonna change. They with who we have in the assembly and the mayor, it's like not gonna change. That's why you didn't see all those people show up. Trust me, they're the majority. They're the vast majority of the public.
Number 2025-74 would have on young people experiencing homelessness in our community. The young people we serve know firsthand how difficult it is to rebuild their lives when they've just been trying to survive. We understand that homelessness is a complicated issue.
I'd love to find out this guy's salary. I bet you it's over 100,000.
And affects more people than just those who are experiencing homelessness. And that collectively, we have had to make difficult choices about our response.
Present situation.
Where is the?
Exponential.
Solves.
I have
It got-
exhausted all my resources.
This lady has a really compelling story, and it's hard not to feel sorry for her. But she said she overdosed. She said she overdosed 16 times. 16 times. It's like we should help people who want help. But this one's kind of one of the more sad ones. But it's hard for me to feel sympathy.
I have
for,
nowhere to go. My family is split up. I don't qualify for rehab or for treatment. I don't know.
I saw a lady in the camp once. She had a very similar story to this woman. It was very sad, and she had lost her kids, and we were talking to her, and it was really. And then right after we were done, she pulled out a needle to shoot up. So it's hard to feel sorry for people who have hard lives, who are then using, shooting up in the park, or that was at Davis Park actually. Where Scott was there. Remember that, Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were there. Right after she was telling this whole story about her family and her kids, and it was really sad. She was crying, and then she just pulls out the needle and shoots up probably heroin or fentanyl. So it's hard. It's like, it's easy if you've never seen this stuff to look at these people and feel horrible and say, oh my God, we got to do something. And then you just go see them and you go observe what happens in these places, and you realize, wow, this is like not something we should be allowing to happen or helping to continue. We need to crack down and offer people who want help, and the people who don't want help, drop the hammer. Force institutionalization or jail. And by the way, when you crack down on it and drop the hammer and say we're not going to tolerate this anymore, I bet you a third of it will just go away on its own because it'll be hard and people don't want to. There's some of these people have places to go. They tell us that. So it's a mentality that has to change. That's how this is going to change. Not some ordinance that it's not going to pass and the mayor's not going to enforce.
Where to go, what to do. We need more case managers. I have sat here and asked all the shelters as an adult for help and been turned away.
However, it is impossible for people experiencing homelessness to adjust their behavior to comply with the law proposed here because everyone needs to sleep. The only way to comply with a law that prohibits sleeping outside is to sleep inside. However, every night, hundreds of people are forced to sleep outside in Anchorage because they have no other choice. Anchorage shelters are consistently full.
Believe me, a lot of them have a choice. And they just talk about these simple, nice things like people need to sleep. But they don't talk about the trash and the drugs and the people exposing themselves and the nuisance it creates for the public to use the parks or the trails. They don't talk about any of the stuff associated with it. They just say, people need to sleep. Oh my gosh, they can't sleep. It's so much more beyond that.
And housing in the city is unaffordable. For people experiencing unsheltered homelessness, there is no way for them to follow the law proposed here. Additionally, the U.S. and Alaska constitutions prohibit the government from imposing
I think this is the ACLU lawyer. Yeah, this is a beauty.
Excessive fees. This AO would allow the government to impose an up to $2,000 fine for simply sleeping in public. Such a steep fine is excessive, and more fundamentally, fining someone any amount of money to sleep is inhumane and unconstitutional. Imposing fines on people sleeping in public also will not have a practical impact. Just as our home.
Some of these people make some of the assembly members look moderate, to tell you the truth. Some of these people are way out there. There's somebody, we'll see if we can find them. They said you can't be illegal on stolen land. I guess they just want people to do whatever they want. There's no rules. They want to, almost like anarchy.
homeless population is unable to pay rent, they will be unable to pay a $2,000 fine. Instead, these fines will simply impose another barrier on their ability to stabilize their lives. Finally, I want to know.
It's not about the fine, it's about a message. The city must stop tolerating this bullshit. And like I said, if you get somebody in charge who is no nonsense, who is sending a strong message that we're not going to tolerate people, destroying our cities and our public spaces, a good chunk of it will automatically resolve itself.
Note that we've tried this before. The state of Alaska has repeatedly used the ban.
Criminalization will cost you one of the many.
The ordinance only exacerbates the challenges that people in Anchorage face. Jail time disrupts access to social services and support networks and often results in loss of property and.
A lot of these people too, they say in 20 words what 4 would do, but they just want to, these big, nice words that makes the language. Its language is big to these people. They want to use this very specific language, so it sounds like you're saying something profound, but you're just using a lot of big words or making something sound a lot more complicated than it is.
Assets that might have helped people get housed. Jail time also negatively impacts people's healths, and we know that many people have died in DOC custody due to violent, gross negligence. Our unhoused neighbors are a part of our community and deserve to live and thrive in this city. I ask that each member of the Assembly oppose this ordinance and all S versions as well.
There's one guy I gotta find. Where'd he go? There was a guy.
That they have very little.
Accountable.
I gotta find this one guy. See if we can find him here.
Additional stress. Much.
Same in
that I do have for.
Where'd that guy go?
McCormick should being poor.
In this state.
There he is. This guy's kind of.
I live off.
This guy's
with
interesting.
exponential to each of them. Unfortunately, they all can't be here, and some of them agree, and some of them don't.
This lady, I
agree
think, was
on the
one of
ordinance.
this was one of the ladies who I think she had a petition for her neighborhood. I think it's Russian Jack, and she was basically saying like, please help us. All the Davis Park people have now come to Russian Jack, and it's horrible. And we have some people in our neighborhood that are really horribly affected by this. Please help.
However, this petition is an example of how our community feels as a result of the present system and demonstrates the city's response to the crisis of unhoused people in Anchorage is not working for the housed and unhoused alike. Thank you.
Hand the petition to the clerk.
I liked her. She was we have a.
He will take the petition. Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name, what part of town you're from. You'll
We
have
have
3 minutes.
we have a they them I think coming up here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. My name is
Pastor.
Adam Richards. I go by they, them. I live off
I think it's on his name
Elkador
tag too.
Drive,
They them.
and I'm one of the pastors at St. John United Methodist Church off O'Malley. So I just recently moved to the Elkador address, and it is genuinely a pleasure to meet my new assembly members, Mr. Johnson and Mr. McCormick, which makes it all the more unfortunate, Assemblyman McCormick, that I have to oppose your proposed legislation here. As a pastor, anytime I find out about any sort of new legislation, I ask myself the age-old question: what would Jesus do? Would Jesus vote for legislation that finds those without the means to pay, using public money intended to uplift city residents to do it? Would you?
I kind of like the idea of you teach a man to fish, or you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him forever.
Jesus vote for legislation similar to Austin, Texas's legislation that, unlike what an earlier speaker said, actually increased the number of homeless residents there? And I just came from Texas, and anecdotally, I can confirm that. Or Jesus works perhaps to provide affordable housing, something that, at least I hope, everyone.
Hey man, Jesus, I'm all about Jesus doing stuff, but he ain't gonna provide housing for anybody. Maybe the churches will, help out with stuff, but Jesus ain't building houses.
In this room, regardless of how you feel about this specific legislation, agrees that Anchorage sorely lacks. Assemblyman McCormick, if you're serious about reducing homelessness, come talk to us over at St. John.
Hold on.
Okay, this guy is basically.
Is necessary.
There's another one we're gonna find. This one. This lady.
People in Anchorage. Jail time also.
This is the lady who I think says that she's like
crisis.
one of these ladies. It's like her. The next one was like, yeah, like people sleep in our church. People sleep in the entryway, and people shit all over the place. But you know, what are you gonna do? You know, it's fine.
We need solutions. I am a perpetual optimist. Sometimes I call it hope. But I firmly believe that we can solve this. Anchorage can create a world where we can all live and sleep safely. I had a family show up at my church a couple months ago.
We can if we do, if we
They were in
get
their
serious.
car and had nowhere to go. They had a baby and 2 young kids. There was no place they could safely park their car and sleep. It was summer, so the emergency cold weather shelter system for families experiencing homelessness that is run by churches was closed. Where do I send them? There is no place for people to even sleep in their cars in Anchorage. Rent is too high for people who are working, for people who are in school, even for people who have vouchers. They often cannot afford to find housing.
What did
Should
she
these
say? She
people
said
be put
something
in
about,
jail?
where's the...
My name is Reverend Emily Carroll, and I'm the great pleasure and sleep. It
I think
was
she
summer,
says something.
so the
She's the one who
emergency
said something
cold weather
about
shelter system
yeah,
for
people
families experiencing
pass out in
homelessness
our
that is run by churches
entryway,
was
and people
closed.
get drunk, and
Where do I send them?
what are you gonna do?
There is no place for people to even sleep in their cars in Anchorage. Rent is too high for people who are working, for people who are in school.
That's true. We should.
even
We
for
should. There's
people
some
who have
things we can do to
vouchers.
help with that.
They
I think.
often cannot afford to find housing. Should these people be put in jail for not making enough money to afford rent? I would hope that the hearts of the people in Anchorage would have more.
No, they shouldn't. But you know, we should put in jail people who are shooting up and dealing drugs and getting drunk and destroying public spaces and building structures and stealing things and propane tanks and bikes and running chop shops. Yes, those people should go to jail. Absolutely, they should go to jail.
More compassion than that. We all know the challenges of public homelessness that we can see.
Here it is.
This creates feelings of disappointment
It's coming.
and fear in us. But that's an us problem. If we are uncomfortable with the situations that people are forced into, then let's create alternatives. If I were to quote from my faith tradition, as my colleague so did, Jesus would say, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you visited me." We need more stable and permanent housing.
You know, my dad always taught me growing up. He always taught me something, and this is a great lesson. He taught me many good lessons, but maybe one of the best ones was you leave something nicer than you found it. Somebody gives you something. If you're with a friend, if you're a guest, whatever you do, you leave something nicer than you found it. The folks staying in these camps and these parks and these trails, they aren't leaving it nicer than they found it.
Housing options
They're
for
destroying
low-income individuals. Let's do that. Anchorage is full of smart, innovative, capable people. If we truly care, if we truly have the heart for it, we can make it happen without sending people to jail. I believe in us. I believe we have the means to solve this. Let's find the heart.
Where's the part where she talked about people
Thank you.
passing out?
Welcome.
In the,
Please
maybe it's
state
his
your
next.
name. What
I think it
part
was
of
her
town
though.
You'll have 3 minutes.
What do we got here?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the body, the mayor. My name is Catherine Wagner, and I'll disclose that I am a staff attorney at the ACLU of Alaska.
Of course.
But I speak tonight to Mr. McCormick, Mr. Johnson, as a homeowner in your district.
Good.
I had the great pleasure of serving in the Navy. I know you served too.
Nice.
I thank you. I try to presume good in people. I really do. And in coming here today, I told myself I wasn't going to ad hominem you. It's not productive. So I just ask you to look at the comments that people are leaving in response to some of your social media posts about sending all the homeless people to Fire Island, to throwing them in the fires at Davis Park that you were live streaming. I'm really not trying to attack you. I think you're new here.
I'm not trying to attack you. You're a piece of shit, but I'm not trying to
please
attack
think
you.
about that in the
Yeah,
future.
the fires these people started, they torched the
you
camp
know,
when they wouldn't leave.
Living in South Anchorage, I don't really see homeless people. When I go to Oceanside Park, I take my kids there. I don't see it as being a problem. I don't
Yeah, it's
really
not where
run
you-
into
it's-
homeless
it's
people
not where you
unless I'm
live.
maybe at the Walmart off Old Seward. You know, it's not really until you get deeper into town. And so it's just hard to not feel like somebody said earlier, you're just mad that you have to see homeless people. I'm gonna assume there's more to your story than that, and more to your reason.
All right, next. Let's see
Our
here.
community is suffering
Where's
from
the,
empathy.
where's the Edward
I would
Scissorhands
love
guy?
to-
That's when it starts getting really
Even
good.
though
Oh, this
she
guy.
is struggling as a single mother to raise her son through her addictions, she
that you to consider how the same bad arguments for abatement have laid the groundwork for further ineffective and punitive measures like this. Homelessness is not a personal failing, but the consequence of many larger factors that we do not have influence over.
It's always very complicated. It's complicated. So complex. It's very complicated. That's what LaFrance said at her press thing a few months ago. It's very complicated. Well, yeah, you're the mayor. Things don't come to you that aren't complicated. That aren't easy. Things don't come to you. You're the mayor. You ran to be mayor. If something's easy to deal with, it goes way downstream from you.
We need to.
It's actually not that complicated, to be honest. It's really not. It's a carrot stick, and as long as we just do a few carrots and then don't enforce anything and let people do whatever they want and not enforce the law or not crack down, you're going to have this problem. It's not that. It's really just crack down. The governor should declare a state of emergency and send out the National Guard to some of these places and say, hey, you can go wherever you want. You just can't stay here. You want some help? We'll help you. We want to help you. But I'm telling you, most people who are outside in these camps, long-term homeless folks, they don't want help. They don't want shelter because there's rules and they can't use drugs and they can't drink and they can't party. Okay, this is the truth of what's going on in these camps. These people, the people they're talking about that are, in a car with their have kids or they lost their place, they're struggling, they're on somebody's couch. Those people exist too. They're the visible homeless. You don't see them, right? And we do have some problems in the city: housing, affordability, jobs. We do have a lot of problems that we should address. But you can't just look at this one group and say, oh, it applies to everybody else. We can't do anything. We have to just build government housing and spend all this money and then let people do whatever. And if they don't want to, that's what Farina Brown, the homeless coordinator, said last summer. I asked this question: what about the people who don't want to go to shelter, who don't want help? And she goes, we're going to honor and respect that. That's the problem. That's it. It's very simple. You're not going to honor and respect. You're going to crack down and not tolerate. You're going to drop the hammer. That's how this problem gets better.
To focus on those and not on posturing, punishment, or cruelty.
This guy's got good hair. Look at this guy's hair. I wish I had hair like that.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name or where to town you're from. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Kat Moore, and I live in Fairview.
I'm guessing two lip.
Homelessness response is hobbled.
I forget. I don't know if I saw her, but I'm guessing 2 lip rings means against the ordinance.
By lackluster support from the Assembly and a few property owners in Anchorage. We know how to make a difference, but we're held back from doing so by a loud minority that refuses to see houseless individuals as people, much less neighbors.
Houseless, yeah.
The housing
It's all about
first model
language.
has
Houseless.
barely been
People
implemented in
experiencing
Anchorage.
homelessness.
Many of the model's most effective aspects have not been utilized in its implementation.
Okay, next.
Experience
There's
homelessness.
a guy coming up here. He's a real beauty.
People into the criminal system who
Oh, there's
need
this
help.
Michael Patterson, lunatic.
That's not to say
He's the head
anything
of
the
PSL,
enforcement burden that this
socialism,
puts on our officers
wackos.
and our courts.
Let's see here.
I could share stories of unhoused women I have met at the camps
Oh, that's
near my
Olivia
home on my
Garrett,
commute
former
between
legislative
downtown
staffer.
and Midtown. One of these women has avoided co-ed mass shelters because she fears sexual violence as she has experienced there and knows that she will experience again. And she has decided that it's safer for her to sleep on the street
It's
where
not
she
safe.
can find safety in
That's
groups of
bullshit.
people that she knows
It's
and has
more
built
dangerous
community
to be
with.
on the street.
Instead, I'm going to ask Mayor LaFrance and members of the Assembly to consider some of the following. What could the city fund with the $15 million we plan to spend on further incarceration?
Okay, we've heard that.
The green belt of Campbell Creek. It's been there for a few years. It's been abated multiple times.
This guy's
but
talked
each time
about
it
one of
just
these
comes back within a
close to
few
where I live.
weeks.
This guy's pretty good
Recently,
actually. Talks about a problem.
the tenants who reside
This
there
guy's a property manager, I
brought
think,
to
and
our-
he's talking about over on the Campbell Creek, close to where I live, by Peanut Farm. These people that keep showing up and just trashing it, and drugs and dealing drugs and trash.
Attention, occurrences of harassment. They harass the employees. They burn stolen electronics, stolen cords
Copper.
to harvest the copper wire and the fuel.
Seen that? They steal the cord. They steal the wires. They burn it it smells horrible. We saw that over Scott. Remember we saw that over there in Elderberry Park by downtown. They were just a horrible smell of burnt kind of wires and plastic to get the copper.
Fumes engulf the warehouse. There have been times that they have even had to shut down operations for the day because of this. The janitorial staff even terminated their contract because of sexual harassment that was happening as they tried to clean the building at night. Again, the abatement happens, things are good for maybe a couple weeks, and then it returns.
This is the problem. You know, we abate, we clean up a camp, they move down the street, they move somewhere else, or they come back.
Abandons.
So here we got.
This ordinance does not represent what the violence.
Oh, this is this one's the wife
and
of this.
to talk to people who actually work
socialism
one-on-one with
lunatic
these people.
Patterson.
Because then you're going to find
These are the
that
people who praised the October 7th that the liberators of Hamas were liberating themselves. Yeah,
this
fucking
is
lunatics.
insane, and it's not logical.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is.
Welcome.
I kind of like this cat. This is this. That's some drip right there. It looks kind of like an Edward Scissorhands.
Hello, my name is Evan Leaf. I'm a student at the University of Alaska Anchorage
Look at
and a
that- look
member
at
of
that
the Sand
outfit.
Lake community.
Kinda like
I'm
that.
here to state my strong opposition to the proposed ordinance.
Shocking.
This ordinance will make sleeping and camping on public municipal land a Class B misdemeanor, which carries a punishment in Alaska of up to 90 days in jail and a
Got
fine
really
up
good
to
after this guy. This guy was
I'd
interesting. Where's
rather-
the
thing? Thank you.
Where's
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm here this evening to.
Oh, this is the one who I
testify
think
in
said.
opposition to
Oh, this one's good.
A74.
This is one of like the it's almost like a. So the later it got, it's almost like I can't say I'm not convinced these people are like agitators or operatives because they got. Here's where it starts to get really absurd. I think this is the one who said something about white women have invented the notion of anger, something crazy. I mean, she sounds like almost like a satire of what you would think would come to one of these things. We're gonna watch her.
Kind of people on both sides of an opinion on this AO, assuming that the other side hasn't considered a few things, and
Someone just sent me a
one of the
text.
things
Someone
that
just
I
sent me a
think
text and they said,
people
it looks like my head's on that crazy socialist guy. This Patterson psycho. Look at this. Someone just sent me that. It's pretty funny.
opposite me think I haven't considered is that I might be toxically empathetic. People think
Toxically
that is something I haven't.
By the way,
spent time thinking
if you're
about,
wearing a
and
mask,
in
you're
fact, I
definitely
have
against the
spent so much
ordinance, and if
time
you're
thinking about
got
that,
the lip rings
I've
against the
decided
ordinance.
to extend my toxic empathy to them, and just say that, frankly, I empathize with people who want to feel safe. I think that's a pretty
so do I.
common human desire. I know I desire that. And I also, from what I know of history, know that safety has been in short supply for a lot of people kind of always. It's only ever been something.
You know what brought the most people out of poverty in the history of the capitalism? Okay, not the stuff they're arguing for. I mean, this kind of government role. I mean, look at China, Russia, Cambodia, all these countries. You know that have done this kind of government does everything. You know, tries to house and feed and educate and you know employ people. I mean, the capitalism, and believe me, I'm not for the crony capitalism, and we have a lot of problems with our system. But I mean, the best thing to get people out of poverty is the free market in the history of the world. More people have been brought out of poverty because of capitalism and the free market than any of the stuff these people are talking about.
That people can feel like they have for small, it's only ever been something that like small distinct groups of people in certain places have ever had a whole lot of certainty about. And I think oftentimes people actually, in my social location, white women kind of weaponize the notion of safety. And
What the fuck does that mean? White women have weaponized the notion of safety. What does that, I mean, some of these people who you know, they have these very complicated statements and they use too many words, and it's like, you can't, even a smart person can't figure out what they're saying. White women have weaponized the notion of safety. Okay.
there's a lot of hand-wringing about like, oh, I feel so unsafe. And then that's used to further deny other people their safety.
What are you talking
I'd like
about?
to cite a retrospective longitudinal study by the Lancet.
Retrospective longitudinal study. What the hell is she talking about? I mean, do you really think she's like there on her own? I mean, I'm not saying any, like accusing anybody, but it's almost like, who are these people?
That interprets
Retroactive
findings by a variety of
longitudinal
researchers
study.
to find that jail incarceration rates are potential drivers of many causes of death in the U.S. And jail incarceration can be harmful not only to the health of individuals who are incarcerated, but also to public health more broadly. I then also want to say something that goes unsaid a lot. I think it relates to the way that this evening has gone. Of course, my notes aren't going to come up now. Shoot.
Don't lose the notes.
I guess I
Those
just want to
big
point out
words.
that I think the system we're all functioning within here is a carceral neoliberal paradigm, a paradigm where decisions are taken behind.
Carceral neoliberal paradigm. I mean, this has got this. I almost think she's like some secret conservative who's just like fit the mold. Like, give me the mass. We're going to talk about retroactive longitudinal studies and neo paradigms. White women have weaponized the notion of safety. I mean, this has got to be like a plant or a satirical. It's so funny. It's like parody.
Behind closed doors. Priority is oftentimes given to businesses as opposed to people, and I would really like to prioritize the safety of the most vulnerable in our community, and I think that those most vulnerable are oftentimes those without a roof over their heads.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Retroactive, longitude, neo liberal parody. This is the one who I think.
My name is Corinne
This is the one who I think.
am a
Pretty sure this is the one who said a lot of people smoke meth to stay up at night.
voter and taxpayer in District 4. I live in Airport Heights, and I'm here to represent myself. I believe that housing is a human right. Therefore, I strongly encourage you to vote no on this ordinance. I have been working.
So that's interesting. That's a lot of signs they have. A lot of people are saying housing is a human right. So is it like so think about a right, like a right to speech, a right to assemble, a right to housing. That means the government has to provide you with housing. Has anybody ever lived or read or experienced, government housing in like the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, China, before they went capitalism? I mean, the notion of the government, housing us or feeding us or employing us, not a good idea. Take that to its conclusion. Housing is a human right, and figure out what would that really mean.
With the homeless population for upwards of a decade now, basically the entirety of my time living in Anchorage. And the longer I work with the homeless population and the more I see this homeless crisis get worse and worse, the less certain I am of what the appropriate solution is. I am very certain,
so there's no solution,
that using punitive measures is not going to be an effective, humane, or constitutional response to our homeless crisis. It will further disenfranchise some of our most vulnerable community members. People who are being homeless face.
This guy back here, the big guy there, the hair, Alaskan Robbie, Robert Hockema, he's part of the PSL crowd. He used to actually do a lot of work for Landmine 3 years ago during the redistricting. Smart dude with maps, really good, but he kind of went off the deep end, and he testified. He kind of went off, and then afterwards, somebody said something to him in the hallway outside the chamber, and he said something like, "Yeah, walk away, bitch." I was like, wow, man, don't be so angry, my man.
Disproportionate rates.
Robbie over there is a big fan of that. What is it? Nandami or whatever the guy in New York, the lunatic socialist who just won the Democratic primary.
Of sexual violence, drug addiction, it's all been listed tonight.
Just wait for the
I'm
meth,
not gonna
sleeping,
beat a dead horse.
smoking meth to stay up at night.
Going to jail is for up to 90 or more days will take them off of our coordinated entry list, therefore disqualifying them for many housing programs that require that you meet the HUD definition of homelessness. Being in jail for 90 days or more takes ends that. So that will force them to
we can't do anything. There's nothing we can do. We just have to all live with this shit.
Just continuing this cycle. It can also increase crime rates because when people have no legal or legitimate means to meet their basic needs for survival, they will turn to illegal means such as squatting in abandoned buildings or using drugs to stay awake.
Here we go.
all
Here it is. Here it
night.
is.
Something I learned when I first started working with the homeless population is that a lot of people will smoke meth to stay up all night.
Okay, so I spent a lot of time in these camps, a lot of time, dozens or hundreds of hours filming videos and going in there and talking to them and filming. I mean, is she hanging out with dudes smoking meth to stay? I mean, What is he talking about? Bizarre.
So putting them in jail for sleeping on the street.
Here's the
government failure.
Here's the Patterson.
Why
This is
we
the
have
head of
the
the
homelessness
lunatic
crisis and the housing
socialism.
crisis here.
We're gonna skip him.
Every day.
Lunatic.
Don't wait for criminal action.
Here's
Instead,
Hakama.
homelessness stems from our housing crisis and our
It's just housing.
affordability crisis.
If we gave the
If
drug
sponsors
addicts and the
of this
alcoholics and the mentally ill
ordinance
people a
were
house,
actually
everything would be
serious
fine.
about ending homelessness, they would support an aggressive rezoning of the city to spur more housing construction and a crackdown on Airbnbs. They would lobby the state legislature
I'm actually for those things. I'm for those things. Yeah, that's fine.
to increase subsidies for things like the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation to subsidize the development of more affordable and market rate housing. I want to see the sponsor of this resolution as passionate about building 3,000 homes a year in Anchorage as they are about waxing poetic about compassion, the compassion of throwing homeless people in jail. Instead, we are more interested in embracing the politics of cruelty by criminalizing the victims of a problem that this city aids and abets themselves by refusing to stand up to the interests that are getting in the way of these reforms. Folks, we are all the victims of this city's abject failure on this issue. Every single person in this room, every single person who has ever lived in this city. It is the fault of a city that prioritizes the needs of wealthy property owners who refuse to let fourplexes and apartment buildings in their neighborhood and who pull the ladder up behind them because they bought property for cheap.
I mean, I actually agree with what somebody's saying there. I mean, it's true. Like the NIMBY's a huge problem. But people like Robbie who support Zohran Mamdani, who want to have government-run grocery stores in New York and, full communist, social, proud avowed democratic socialists, they aren't going to, their ideas aren't going to solve the problem. But I mean, I do agree the NIMBY problem is big. The NIMBYs who have the houses, who don't want to change zoning, who don't want to allow for more building, who want to prevent anything from happening. I mean, yes, that is a problem, and I do agree with that. But his prescription is not great.
Cheap 3 decades ago. What this instead will do is make
We'll watch one more here.
Are dealing with untreated trauma, mental illness, and substance misuse. They are not criminals. They are our neighbors.
Yeah, no, they're our neighbors. They're our neighbors.
Overwhelmed.
They're destroying the parks and the creeks, and they're shooting up, and they're getting drunk, and they're exposing themselves, and they're stealing things, and they're, stealing power and stocking propane tanks and running trucks. They're our neighbors. We should go over there and embrace them and hang out with them and give them food and money. I mean, they're our neighbors.
Adding a Class B misdemeanor
Insane.
only compounds their suffering. It creates another barrier to employment, housing, and recovery. Let's also consider the cost to the public. Enforcement of this ordinance will require police time, court proceedings, and possibly jail time. All of this drains public.
We're about done. I can't take any more of this stuff. Oh, this David song, another beauty.
Debating high barrier, extremely limited sanction parking lots, discussing a minuscule pilot project. This is not even close to enough. And here's my ask. Ignore the NIMBYs. Use your power.
I'm for
eminent
that.
domain,
I'm for
make
that. Yeah.
Public
The NIMBYs are a problem. I agree with that. But again, these people, if they had it their way, trust me, we'd be living in a worse than it is, if you can believe that.
Housing investments. Thank you.
Welcome. Please state your name, what part of town you're from.
There's one more guy I want to get to. This guy's kind of based here. Let's get to this guy. This guy.
I could not
this next guy's kind of.
Having to have domestic violence.
Absolutely.
Watch
Thank you. I'm glad you said that.
He's mad
Next
about
time I'll
something.
bring so I'm amazed. I've been here for 2 hours. I've listened to a lot of emotionally charged testimony that has absolutely nothing to do with this ordinance. I stand in support of this ordinance. It is simple, plain, right there in black and white, to prohibit camping on public premises by providing criminal penalties and enforcement.
This guy. Anyways, all this stuff about camping and fires and cooking, and I mean, these parks close at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. All this stuff already exists. So, well, I think it's like nice that they have, McCormick and these guys want to do something. It's not going to pass the assembly. There's some like substitute versions, and they're going to try to like put lipstick on a pig and make it look like they're doing something. But they just refuse to they'll bait a camp because they finally have to. It's got so bad, Davis Park, which LaFrance inherited, but she's been in for a year. So at some point, like you get a 3-month honeymoon. Okay, fine. That was in like September. You've been there for a year now. It's a third of her term. It's like you don't get to like blame Bronson anymore. She wanted to be mayor, by the way. She ran to be mayor. So as long as they just like abate something once in a while, clean something up, oh, it's fixed, and then they move down the street or down, somewhere else in, Cuddy Park and Russian Jack and other parts of town, you're not going to fix the problem. So you can pass the ordinance, they aren't going to enforce it. It's just kind of a joke, and until we get some serious people in charge that want to drop the hammer. Again, carrot, stick. You don't just drop the hammer. You don't just use a stick. You want to, like I said, I'm fine with spending more money on mental health care and drug addiction treatment and alcoholism and getting people, on their feet. And if they want to get a job, if they need to get some help to move into a house or an apartment or a place, that's fine. I'm all for those things. But those are the people who want help, who really want help. It's the other people, the majority of people who are outside destroying our public spaces, who don't want help, who want to be outside, who don't want to live by society's rules, who don't want to go to a shelter, who want to get drunk, who want to get high, who want to steal, who want to prey on the public. Those are the people we have to deal with. Okay, and this kumbaya housing, nobody's illegal on stolen land. Somebody said that nobody's illegal on stolen land. I don't know, that was some woman before. Is just bullshit, and it's like not going to make anything better. In fact, it's going to make things worse. So, I don't know. I don't think they even got to discussion last night. I left around 11:30. They're going to, I think, sometime in July, they're going to continue talking about this, but it's kind of just performative, just excites people, and like I said, it's a loud minority, probably 5% of people who really believe this shit that showed up. The other people who are working with families and have jobs and didn't show up because they don't want to waste your time. They know it's a waste of time. They know it's not going to do anything. And they're just, a lot of them are voting with their feet. They're moving to the valley. They're moving out of state. We see this happening. Working people with kids that have opportunities or, means to leave, they're leaving. The people who can't leave get stuck with this shit and have to put up with it and live in this kind of squalor that's happening, that's plaguing this city. It's horrible. It's just, I've been here 21 years. It's just crazy how bad it's got in Anchorage, and how the trash and the drugs and just the people walking in the streets and the zombies and the alcohol and just the kind of crisis that exists every day in the city. It's almost become normal, which it's not normal. Trust me, it's not normal. It's abnormal. It's wrong. So that's that. I'm going to be doing more live streams here. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever it is. Check out the AlaskaLandmine.com website. If you like what we do, if you like the videos, if you like our coverage, please consider donating one time, or you can do a monthly recurring. Just go to AlaskaLandmine.com/donate or subscribe. It's on the website under subscribe. We also sell ads if you have a business or a organization or a cause or a campaign or whatever. We have great analytics. I can show you the analytics. We have great viewers. We have a lot of people who are following politics in Alaska or just the news in Alaska, reading the Landmine. So we appreciate your support. We have a great crowd in Alaska who loves the Landmine, and I appreciate all you who watch and contribute and read. We're having luckily a little bit of an off year. No election this year. No statewide election. Next year is a big one. We got 40 House seats, 10 Senate seats. Senator Sullivan's up. Rep Begich is up every 2 years, and then the governor's up. So last year we just had the congressional race. No Senate, no governor. 2 years ago we had Murkowski, House, and governor. The next year we're going to have, again, Sullivan, Begich, governor. Governor's open seat. Governor Dunleavy's termed out. So that's that. I want to thank you all for watching. I'm going to end the stream, and I'll be doing more of these this summer and all year. And check out the podcast too. I got some more podcasts coming up. So Landmine Radio. Check you guys later.